Hey, can we give it up for the praise band that's been doing such an awesome job? Totally rocking it. Good evening, gentlemen. So glad you're here. Take a moment and tell somebody, even if they rode in the van with you, I'm so glad you came. Tell them, I'm so glad you came. Now, my mom, who has passed away a few years ago, always told me this. She said, now, Jefferson, if somebody invites you to their house, you ought to invite them to yours. So I didn't get a chance to say where I'm from. I want to show you, actually, where I'm from. I work at a place called Pepperdine University, which there should have been the very first slide is the very first. There we are. Here we go. Boom. Anybody here ever been to Malibu before? All right. Good deal. So we'd love to have you come visit there someday. But today, I have been assigned what I think is really fair to say is the worst verse in the 23rd Psalm. The 23rd Psalm, as you probably heard already, is one of the most popular things in all the Bible. More people have memorized the 23rd Psalm than any other text in the Old Testament, for sure. And for most people, even if they're not Christians, if you say, the Lord is my, yeah, it's just automatic. And it's a beautiful psalm. It's sweet. Let's just read it together, shall we? At least the parts that we've done so far. Here we go. The Lord is my, I lack, except when you say nothing, do like this, like nothing. I don't lack anything. Here we go. One more time. The Lord is my shepherd, and I lack. He does what? He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters, and He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right path for His name's sake. Even when, whoa, what? Wait a minute. So far, this has been beautiful. And all of a sudden, in the middle of this psalm, from pastures and rivers, we get, even when I walk in the valley of death, even when I walk in the darkest place. It's like weird. Why all of a sudden does he introduce, after it's all beautiful, this? All right. I believe there's two weird things and one cool thing. Let's see if we can do them together. One, first off, the first weird thing. It gets dark with no warning. He refreshes my soul, even when I walk through. And in the version that I grew up with, called the King James Version, any of my wrinkled homies know what I'm talking about here? Okay, all right. Even, in fact, do you remember how it starts out? Yea, when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Who wants that in your song, right? Okay, the only other, oh, this is weird. The only other thing I know that is like that is the little prayer that we teach kids. The very first prayer we teach them. Maybe some of you heard me say this before. You know, it goes like this. Do your hands. You're gonna go to bed, and you start with this prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should, wait. You're gonna teach a 4-year-old, baby, if you die before you get up, it's all right. What in the world? Why would you even say that to a little kid, right? Because all of a sudden then they're like, oh, dude, I could die, like in my sleep. That's awful. The 23rd Psalm pulls kind of the same move. Green pastures, flowing rivers, refreshes me. And then, and here's the word that bugs me the most. Can you go back to that text for half a second? Here's the word that bugs me the most. Even, what's that second word? Okay, if that's translated correctly, he doesn't say even if I walk in a terrible, dark, awful situation. He says even when, like guarantee, bad stuff's gonna happen. And when I read it that way, I had to repent and say, you know what? This is weird, but this is necessary. Because what it means is, God is not afraid for us to talk about really, really ugly stuff. Valley of the shadow of death. I served as a minister in Charlotte, North Carolina for a long, long time. I was there for 18 wonderful years. And some of the memories are awesome. Said people's weddings, went to the hospital to see babies. But then there was the call that I got in the middle of the night from the Lynch family, Tom and his wife, Shanier. And they said, can you come to the hospital? And their sweet, beautiful 2-year-old girl had passed away in the night. And I am rolling out of bed, and my wife says, where are you going? I said, I'm going to the hospital. How long will you be there? I said, probably a long time. And I quickly told her. And we had 2 boys sleeping down the hallway. And her immediate reaction was, they call it a mixture. Catharsis is the fancy word for it, which is a mixture of pity and fear. Pity says, oh, that's so terrible that happened to them. But fear says, I hope that doesn't happen to our boys. God does not give us a Candyland picture of the world. It's all unicorns and fairy tales. It's all wonderful. Everything is rainbows and sunshine. But you guys have all lived long enough, even if you've only lived 12 or 13 or 10 or 11 years or 14 years, to know, let's see, I'm trying to do the math to think what grade you would have been in when all of a sudden the entire world got sick. And your parents, depending on where you lived, said, okay, we can't go anywhere. What do you mean we can't go anywhere? Here in California, you can even go to the bathroom. I mean, it was like restriction, because they wanted everybody to try and be safe. Did you guys have COVID where you were? Yeah. Everybody in the world had COVID. Everywhere, every country. And you need to know, all of your parents were going like, what? And your grandparents were saying like, what? And everybody was saying, I've never seen anything like this. Just a sec. Here's the deal. COVID was one of those moments where we all go, didn't see this coming. This is crazy. People are sick. People are dying. And the 23rd Psalm says, excuse me, even when you walk through the darkest valley, because bad stuff happens. Can I get a oh yeah? Friendships will fail. Families will fall apart. People you love will get sick. I know. I've experienced it. And when I do, God doesn't want me to go, oh no, God must not be real, and I must not be a Christian, and Satan must be winning the battle. Because since the very beginning, bad stuff happened in this broken world ever since Ever since he listened to Satan when he said, hey, lady, take a bite of this. And she thought he was smarter than God. And he uses that same trick on us. But sometimes bad stuff happens and you don't even cause it. It's like COVID, it just happens. And the 23rd Psalm, the weird thing is it turns dark just like life does. But just because life turns dark doesn't mean that God is not there. Can I get a oh yeah? Because the shepherd is still there with the sheep even when they are going through this valley of the shadow of death. And I love that about the psalm, and I love that about Jesus because it's real. That's why this morning when they were talking about, listening to the shepherd's voice and the sheep pen, the reason you have a sheep pen, I was in England several years ago teaching, and we decided we'd go to Ireland. That's why I love the Irish accents in that video. And we saw herds of sheep. And I asked somebody, where are the sheep pens? And he said, well, we have other ways to protect our sheep now. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, don't touch that fence. Because if a wolf or something tried to get in, that fence is electrified. Well, what about the sheep? They stay away from the fence. I mean, think of a day before that, but before there was such a thing as a gun, right? Before there was such a thing as cameras, we got a wolf in Sector 2, but instead they build a rock wall, and sometimes the shepherd or sometimes a guardsman would sleep right in the opening because bad stuff happens. Can I get it? Oh, yeah? Okay. So, number one, weird thing, it turns dark, but it turns dark for a purpose. It turns dark so you and I can be prepared. And the second weird thing is the rest of this verse. I kind of stopped there, seized up. So let's go back and let's read the rest of it. He said, even when I walk through the darkest valley, I will what? Fear no evil, for what? You are with me. But look what he says next. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. Now, when I see the word comfort, I think of my granddaughter, Imogen. She has a blankie. How many would confess when you were a kid, you had a special blankie or a lovey or a stuffed animal or a something? Yeah, okay. Everybody, it seems, does. So imagine this scene with me, all right? Imogen she's staying overnight at our house, and she comes in just panicked. Hefe, that's my grandpa name. Hefe, what? I can't find blankie. And it's just like something out of a commercial. She's just crying, and I'm, baby, that's okay. I'll go down. Blankie's probably downstairs. You get back in the bed. Okay, please hurry. So I'm downstairs looking for, pardon me, this stupid blanket. I should be able to find the blanket by its smell because she's had it for several years and she drags it everywhere like Linus. And the blanket is made of wool, so it collects everything, but she doesn't care. In fact, when her mom washes it, she goes, blankie smells wrong. I'm like, drag him around the yard. Oh, that smells good. Yeah. I could not find blankie. So I found another blanket that looked very much like blankie. Brought it up to her, left the lights off. There you go. Oh, thank you. And I heard this. This isn't blankie. Now, I guess it's okay if you have a little blankie. By the way, we found it. It was in the car. If you have a little thing that makes you feel good, but there's something wrong with that verse. Because the things that it said makes you feel good are not feel-good things. They've given us a couple for us to use. Okay, this is a shepherd's rod. This is sometimes called a shepherd's hook or shepherd's crook, but it's a rod. Now, have I got any guys here that are into like any martial arts or, like, you own a pair of nunchucks or something? Okay. Oh, wow. We got several people. Hey, dude, what's your name? Yeah, you're pointing at yourself. Hi, what's your name? Excuse me? Austin. That's correct. Austin, come here, would you? Everybody give Austin a big round of applause. Hustle up, dude. Austin, if I may say, you are rocking the red hair. Very cool. Austin, I'm going to take a wild guess. Are you on the blue team? Is that your team? Austin. So, have you done like, judo or karate or what kind of stuff are you kind of into? I'm sorry? Taekwondo. Okay. Or taekwondo, as some would say it. Okay. Would you mind flipping off your flip-flops there and just showing us just a second? I'm going to get way back here because I don't want any on me. Okay. All right. Go. Can you just step right here? So can you face them? So what's like a taekwondo? What is it like? Are there moves in taekwondo? Huh? You haven't done it for a while. Well, fake it till you make it, man. Let me see something here. What really is that? Huh? Okay, how about this? I'm going to give you this to use. Now I want you to listen carefully. This was a weapon in the hands of the shepherd. If a wolf came or an animal came, can you do like like one of those laser sword spins or something? Can you? There we go. Now we're talking. Whoa, ho! Look out! Do not mess with the shepherd. Okay. Do you realize that's what that verse is talking about? Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Imagine if my grandson said, "Oh, I lost my nunchucks. Where are they? I always sleep with them, I lost my sword. Where are they? I always sleep with them." No! Weapons are not supposed to be happy, huggy things. But that's what the psalm writer says. He says, "Oh, your rod, take it, and your staff." Is there a young lady over here who would help me out a little bit? Everybody's pointing, but would you? Hi, what's your name? Pardon me? Come on up. Yeah. Green shirt right there. All right. Let me see one more taekwondo kind of thing with that. Just like, aha. If I was attacking, you're going to stop me by spinning it? Okay, so if I'm like attacking you, what would you do with it? Oh, wow. Oh, okay, all right. Well done. Now you, get this. Your name again? Brooklyn. Okay. Step right over here. Okay. Now, Brooklyn, obviously, that is not much of a weapon because that's not what it's used for.
It looks like the other part of that.
It does look like a piece of that, doesn't it? But all it is, the staff was just a stick. And do you know what it's for? It's so that the shepherd can guide the sheep. Now, people think, oh, that's what that is for. This is actually the weapon. On occasion, if a sheep was really cranky, he'd get the crook, right? But this is when you just need to move a sheep along a little bit. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so for instance, if there's a sheep here, I find this really interesting because I checked on this with, some information about shepherds. Do you know some shepherds will just do, if they want to draw the sheep to them, they will do this. They will just tap it. You're like, Gandalf, this shall not pass. Okay, just hang on to it right there. Okay, all right. So here's what they do. They would make a little noise. Shh, get really quiet and see if you could hear this. Imagine they're, in a field, maybe there's a rock there, and the shepherd would just, and the sheep would immediately, boom, heads up. Now, if a sheep was not going in the right way, this is not a rod to beat them with. That's the rod. This is the staff. So if you, turn that way for just a minute. If you were a little sheep, face over there. If you were a little sheep, I might give you just a little tap. Hey, 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 back here, back here, back here, back here. So we have this that is, everybody say, to guide. And this, everybody say, to guard. Now, on this side, you guys are the guard side, so let me hear you say it. This is to, and this is to. Now, what's interesting is that in this little line, the psalmist goes whoosh and takes everything that makes me scared and puts it together. The first thing I'm scared of is stuff that can hurt me. I'm scared that cancer, that a terrible accident. I'm scared that one of my kids might have what happened to the Lynch's kid or grandkids. And the psalmist says, Jeff, God will protect you. Now, that doesn't mean that bad things don't happen, because we already said bad things happen. But here's what it does mean. You are not fighting the battle by yourself. Jesus is with you. Let me just kind of drop the elevator. There's some young people in this room who right now, nobody wants to talk this stuff out loud. But mom and dad are in a bad place. And at night, maybe like some kids I know, you hear the arguing and you say, please don't get divorced. Please. Please. Now, there are others who are here, and I'm not trying to poke a wound, but you got a special grandma or a special grandpa, and they're not well. I was just chatting backstage with one of the, and I won't say who it is, but one of the folks who talked about his sweet 90-plus-year-old grandma who has cancer. And they've said, probably not for long. Folks, Jesus wants to be your shepherd. I can't imagine facing the difficulties of life without him there to walk with me and to fight the battles with me. Can any adult in the room who knows what I'm saying give me a oh yeah? Okay. Now, what about the guiding part? You see, one of my fears is, oh no, something bad's going to happen. I'm going to be all by myself. The other fear is, oh dear God, am I going to make a bad choice? Am I going to choose this school instead of that one when I go to college? Am I going to choose to date that girl instead of this one? Am I going to choose this job instead of that one? Am I going to choose this friend instead of that one? God, I'm so scared. And he says, would you tap it just a little? He says, Jeff, shh, come here. Why don't you pray? Why don't you read your Bible? Why don't you talk to some believers? And I'm going to, everybody whisper the word guide over here. Guide. Because I don't think God screams. I think we got to pay attention. Shh, listen. I think we have to pay attention because God whispers. He whispers and says, trust me. Do what's right. Be true. Tell the truth. And I'm like, oh, Lord, because the world will scream. But we got to get quiet if we want to hear his guidance. Yeah. Now, the third thing is the cool thing. Because not only does this psalm talk about the shepherd, one more time, that same text, the shepherd who's there in the valley of the darkest fears. But he says, for you are, everybody say the word with. The only other scary thing I have is being alone, facing things by myself. I liked to hike. And I know anybody who's here ever been a Boy Scout, what I'm about to say is a bad choice. But I went on a long hike by myself. Yep. Santa Monica National Forest, beautiful place. But all of a sudden, it became awful because I got lost. I had not taken the proper precautions. There was no cell service. And I found myself twisted around in a dark valley with beautiful trees. I literally did not know which way to go. It is the most awful feeling. But that can happen to you at school. That can happen to you at church. That can happen to you at home. That can happen to you when you're on a sports team or in a group and all of a sudden you feel like nobody wants you in their friend circle. And that's when Jesus says, I will be with you, not just for a minute. Because Jesus is not one who's just going to fight and run away, you know. Because that's what, you remember that's what that text says? Take a look at that text where he says, Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. And when he says that, go ahead and go to John 10 if you would. When he says, I am the good shepherd, the good shepherd will do what? Lay down his life for his sheep. He goes on to say that, the hired hand is going to run away when it gets tough. The hired hand is not the shepherd and doesn't own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he might try a couple of ninja moves, but then boom, he's out of there. But here's what Jesus says. Would you do me a favor? Would you hold that rod out just like that? Jesus says, I am here. How long are you here? He says, I'm here always. But Jesus, what if things get really tough? He says, well, let me tell you. I don't care how tough it is. In fact, would you take that and hold it straight out in front of you? Stick it out, point it right at them. Yeah. Step in a little bit, raise it up. Now here's what I want you to do really, really slowly. I want you to slowly swing that this way. And this is what Jesus said he would do. It's a symbol known all over the world. Anybody know what symbol? You can let go. What symbol I'm holding out? Jesus said, I will lay down my life for you. And folks, he did. Would you give these two a huge round of applause? Thank you so much. Thanks for your help, dude.
Good to go?
Yeah, you're good to go. You're good to go. Actually, flip-flops, hang on just a sec here. Here's what I'd like you to do. There's a cave right there. Would you just walk in it and just kind of hang and hide behind for just a second? We don't want to see you. Yeah, Voldemort, go that way a little bit there, would you? Okay, there you go. Good, good. Okay. Tonight, I believe that metaphorically some of you are in the cave. By that I mean, it's one thing to be in the sheep pen. It's one thing to be here at CIY. But there are times when we just take off. We run away from the shepherd. Well, you said he'd fight for us. Yeah. Well, then what if I run away? I'm going to be all alone. Well, yes, you will. But I have some really good news. No matter how difficult, no matter how dark, there is someone who'll care for you. And let's be real, I know why you head for the cave. Me too. Because sometimes it's like, you remember that scene in Aladdin where he goes to the Cave of Wonders? Yes. And inside the Cave of Wonders is all this gold and treasure, and it's just so cool, right? But that's what we think the cave will be like. My friends say, hey, dude, come on. What? You've never gotten high? What? You've never stole anything? Give me a break. Here, look, you just put it in you can walk right out of Walmart, man. Nobody will know. And all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, 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 Jesus, how did I get here? But I'm heading for the cave. Because I think in the cave, it's going to be really cool. No, this is what the cave actually looks like. It's the cave of shame. It's the cave that I end up in, and I don't want to see anybody because I am so embarrassed about what I said, what I did, the choices I made. Oh, I wish I could take you to some of the places that I've walked with teenagers who had done some really, really poor choices. And those poor choices sometimes came about because somebody did poor choices to them. And sometimes they came about because they were angry about the world or their family. But Satan said, hey, forget this following the shepherd. Let's go in the cave. You can do whatever you want. And they got lost in the cave. My kids and I one time went to the biggest cave in America. It's called the Carlsbad Caverns. It's a big hole. And when you go down, I don't know if you can see in the picture, but you got to go down these levels. You get in there, and one of the weird things they do is that they will say, I wonder if you people really know what dark looks like. And they make everybody stand still. And they say, now don't move while we do this. And all of a sudden they flip a switch and it is dark. Stay still. Stay still. Here's the good news. I brought a lantern. Now, hang tough with me here. For the first 10 seconds in the cave, when it goes really dark, it's like, and it's kind of sort of cool. Everybody goes, ooh. But then in second 20 and 30, because when the lady took us in, it happened to be a ranger who was a woman, she let it stay dark for a full 60 seconds. Now, I can't tell you exactly what the feeling was, but I know that after about half a minute, my body started to go, okay, when are the lights coming on? When are the lights coming on? And if that lady had kept the lights off, I think there would have been people who had just started crying because we had no way to know where to go, what was safe and what wasn't. I wonder if tonight is the time that some of you might come out of the cave. Maybe it's a cave of shame of something you did or something you're supposed to do that you didn't do. Maybe there's something that you are carrying with you and you just haven't given it to Jesus. Or maybe you're saying, hey, speaker guy, I'm not a Christian. I don't even know if I believe in Jesus. Here's the coolest thing. Jesus totally believes in you. And he loves you so much that he was willing to die for you. You say, well, what do I do? It's pretty simple. Jesus is dying to lead you out of the cave. He literally died so you could have light and life. Bow your head with me if you would. Thanks, man. Here we go. Father, I stand here thinking about all these amazing, wonderful young lives in this room. And I ask you, God, you can see which of us are standing in the light and which are standing in the darkness. Father, will you bring light tonight? Father, will you, even as Anthony describes what we're about to do, Will you keep Satan from invading and making us feel all maybe weird or embarrassed, or even when he tries to make us make fun of something that's about to happen? God, I pray for a young girl in this room who is so wishing someone would reach a hand out and say, come back, the shepherd's looking for you. A young man who has struggled with challenges. A young girl who's hurting and feeling so lonely, even in this big room. And Lord, I don't want to miss out on the fact that there are some adults in this room who may have quietly wandered into the cave. Father, will you give them the courage tonight to step out of the cave? And as this exercise is explained, God, I just ask all of my dear friends here, and God, you give them the courage to be totally silent so that they can hear, maybe even hear you, and hear what's about to happen. I pray that in Jesus' holy name.